Oh my. Oh my. Oh my.
You are now tuned in to the Revolution Podcast.
Yo, you know what it is and what it do. It's your boy J Love, and you're officially tuned in to the Revolution Radio Show, aka the Revolution Podcast. And as always, I got with me my man, my ace, Mr. Mark DeMoica. How you feeling?
What's good? What's good, people? Peace and blessings.
Yes, sir. And also, I got with me the First Lady, Miss Serena Marlene. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Glad to hear it. Today, we want to talk about a really important topic. We got a special guest in here. Many of you may or may not know, but October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This is something very close to my heart. My mother endured a 7-year relationship. Growing up, I not only experienced abuse myself, but seen a lot of things. We spent the year, I believe it was when I was about 10 years old, in a battered women's shelter, spent that Christmas in a battered women's shelter. So this topic is very close to me. So I have, I should say, have with us a very special guest. I don't want to call her a survivor, an overcomer maybe is a better word.
I love that.
A champion.
There you go.
Coming through, situations of domestic violence. And it is Serena Garcia.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Hi.
I'm happy to share my story with you guys.
And so we're happy to have you, and I know that first of all, thank you, because I know that this definitely probably is not easy. It's not easy to share your pain,
Right.
kind of to take off the Band-Aid, so to speak, and expose the wounds. So I definitely commend you.
Yes.
And so I want to ask you, I just want to jump right in, but how long were you in this relationship?
I was in the relationship for 6 years. It wasn't always bad. It started good. After the year started flowing, the abuse got a little bit worse. And then mentally and emotionally, it just tore me down. So it's definitely been a journey, but I'm happy to say I am where I am now. And I'm only here to inspire women and to show them that they can be where I am right now. It is possible, and just to keep that faith.
And let me ask you this. I know that you have 3 children, correct?
I do.
And so were your children ever exposed to, or did they witness the abuse?
Unfortunately, yes. Yes, they were exposed to the abuse. And as unfortunate as it was actually just our normal. We were just, that's just how our day was. Our day was, how can we make him happy? How can we go about our day without me getting hurt, or without them getting yelled at, or things like that? So we revolved around making him happy.
Right.
So I think it's important to talk to people about how it started, because I think for people that don't understand, they probably don't understand what led you there. It didn't happen immediately. You didn't say hi to him and then all of a sudden, there was physical abuse or verbal abuse, right?
Right.
So you shared with me, we had some time to talk before this, and I just think it's important would you share with everybody just when it all turned for you?
Yes. So when I did meet him, he was actually very sweet. He was working. We just wanted the same things. We wanted a family. We wanted to just build together. Everything started changing when my son, he has a different father, when his dad was involved. He got involved with my son again, and things just switched. He didn't want to be involved with my son. He told me to just make sure that his dad was taking care of him, because he's not his dad.
But you mentioned to me that, can you share with what happened at the hospital when you gave birth to your daughter?
I had my daughter June 4th, 2015, and she was, I want to say 7 hours born, and she was crying, and she was... I just did not know what to do. She kept crying. He got irritated. His anger level just went from 0 to 100 very, very quick. Asked me to keep her quiet. And I was frustrating him so much, he struck me in the face.
While you were laying in a hospital bed.
While she was in my arms.
Wow.
She was in my arms.
Wow.
And, you know, and he just, and it's crazy because I remember that day, and a nurse came in and she seen me and she felt it. Like, you can just feel it when you walk into the room. And she walked out. Like, some people like see things happening like that and they turn their head and they don't, you know, it's none of their business.
So do you wish that that nurse would have done things completely different? And if so, do you think that that would have changed anything for you?
I think it would have changed things, maybe legally. Maybe CPS would have been involved with us.
And that's what you would have wanted.
At the time, I don't think that's what I wanted.
Got it.
At the time, I think that I would have done anything to have CPS like not come towards us, because I wouldn't want my kids taken away from me, because I knew if they knew the level of anger and violence that we were going through, that my kids would definitely be taken away from me.
I just know that, you know, for me, I'm kind of the child in your scenario. Like,
Right.
I was the kid. And so watching my mother go through this for me was really traumatizing. It made me a very angry kid. I guess to some degrees violent, because I would fight a lot at school.
Yes.
And because I felt powerless as a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, every day we didn't know. And it's because you mentioned this, and I think it's important for people to understand. My stepfather, who was the abusive one, was the nicest dude in the world sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, he was, with him, his trigger he was an alcoholic and a cocaine addict, right? So it was the drugs and the alcohol. But we didn't know which guy would come home. So he would either come home and be like the really super, like, nice guy that was really, or he was the monster. So we never knew, and we were always walking on eggshells. And I remember specifically, there was one particular time that I thought I had had enough, right, so to speak. He was beating up my mom, and I grabbed a baseball bat, and I'll never forget this. I hit him with everything I had with the baseball bat, like across his head. And he swatted it off like it was a gnat. You know what I mean? And I remember thinking to myself, wow, this dude's going to kill us. I mean, I ended up getting beat up that day or whatever. But I guess my point to saying all of that is that I understand the fear of, because people did know, right? And people, for whatever reason, whether it was friends, family, no one interfered. Like, and I guess you get stuck in a place. I don't know if you felt this way, but for me, because I never really got a chance to ask my mom, right? But got stuck in a place where it felt like we're stuck here because no one else cares or will do anything about it. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. And it also pulls into like him being like a narcissist, you know, like he can be this person in front of everybody else and this hardworking, like loving, like good father type figure, but behind closed doors, it was not like that. You know, it was very walking on eggshells. Like, what is going to trigger him today? What is going to get him upset today? Like, what can we do? You know, and it really like degraded me because I would put my all into like trying to make him happy, which made me unhappy. And it really broke me down. And it really just the level of respect like my children had for me was zero. You know, I went into the shelter and my kids were just programmed a different way, just programmed the way he had made it. You know, if my kids did not like something I said to them, they would tell me that I needed to stop talking to them, or they would have their dad slap me in the face.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, and instead of reacting, instead of like being like, hey, like, I'm your mother, like, you don't talk to me like that. Like, I get into freeze mode and I'm just like, I'm shocked. I'm confused. Yeah, it triggers me. I'm just like, how can this man being this little girl, you know, like she is spit image of him, you know, and it just triggers me the wrong way. And it's something I'm really working on, you know, because I want her to know that that's not normal.
Do you feel like it's a challenge, though, for you to handle those situations with her out of love? Because I feel like that's an even greater strength within yourself, not to lash out or be brought back to the place that he was doing that to you.
It's definitely a challenge. It's definitely a trigger. I try to work every single day with her. You know, she is also in therapy. My kids are in therapy. I think back, like, you know, I would never go through this again or have my kids go through this again, because mentally it messed with us. It messed with my children. Even though physically they were not being abused, they were involved. They seen it was their normal. It was okay.
So let me ask you this. Do you think it taught your kids, like it taught me and my brother how to lie, right? Because
yeah.
everywhere you go, right?
You have to wear this mask.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
wear this mask, and you're like, you don't talk about what goes on at home. You act as if everything is okay, right?
Yeah.
And do you think that maybe that with you guys?
Oh yeah. You know, actually my daughter, she's actually very open. You know, just the other day, you know, her little cousin was like swinging a stick around, and I had told him, "Oh, don't do that. You know, like you're going to hit somebody." And she turned around and told her cousin, like my dad used to hit my mom.
Wow.
You know, so like, and at times like that, I get stuck and I don't know what to say. Like, I can't be angry with her and say like, hey, don't say that.
No.
You know, I just have to tell her like, okay, but we don't talk about that here. We don't, you know, we don't talk about that. She's like, but it happened. You know, she's very open about it. You know, I'm very happy that she doesn't like come at me the way she used to, you know, with the comparisons, like if you don't do this, like I'm going to tell my dad and he's going to hit you. Or if you do this, like, why would you do that? My dad would never do that to me. My dad would never make me do this, you know, and this is coming from a little girl, 5-year-old, when she was 5,
Right.
you know.
Well, I think it's because of the trauma, right? She doesn't really have the words to articulate, you know, what she's feeling because, like I said, I feel like I can speak for her in this scenario because I know, like I said, for me, the only outlet I had was to be vicious at school with other kids. So that was my outlet. Like your daughter's outlet is or was with you, right? So for me, it was like anything like, yo, why are you looking at me? Or whatever, you know, it was those things that, because that was the only place I had power. So it feels like, I want to encourage you, what it feels like is that she's trying to find some place of power because she didn't have, well, you as a family group didn't have any, right? And she's trying to find, where is this place that I have this little bit of really what it is, freedom.
Yes.
It's trying to find peace, right? Because that's really what we're looking for, you know? And I commend you because oftentimes these cycles repeat themselves, right? Because we tend to just compartmentalize them and put them away, right? And the fact that you're seeking, you know, therapy, that you know, you've done these things and continue to do so, may not feel like it at times, but definitely, you know, you'll see as you continue to because here's the thing. It's funny, for so long, at least I know my group, we were raised, right, Mark, like asking for help was a bad thing. Right. And it's not. Like, we all need help at some point in time in our lives, right? Like, we all, like, even this, whether you realize it or not, is therapy for you to be able to share your story, because there's people who are going to see or hear this that have gone through this. They're going to say, because when you're in that moment, here's what, for me, being in a shelter did, so you know. And I don't know if you even had this experience. I was old enough to understand some things at the time. My younger brother was a little bit younger, so he didn't really get it. But for me, I was like, oh, we're not the only ones.
Right.
That's what freaked me, because I thought up until we were in the shelter, it was just us and nobody else was dealing with this hell that we were living in.
Well, I think when you have any type of abuse, there's a guilt, right? And it's an isolation. But I definitely want to applaud you, Serena, for one, breaking the cycle, because we had the pleasure of speaking and I got to know you a little bit more. And you mentioned that exactly the way he treated you was the way that your father treated you, right? So I love that you've been an example to your daughter, because it's been 2 years now, right? So she was 4 when you left the situation. So I applaud you for breaking that for her, because I believe over time you'll be the person that shows her how she's supposed to be treated and prevent her from being in a situation.
And every day I'll try my best to just do that for her. You know, my dad actually didn't start treating me the way he did until after my parents separated. And then he started drinking a lot, and then abuse started coming, neglect started coming. You know, I was in foster care, but I would still follow him. Like, the more that he would leave me, the more that he would hurt me, I wanted to be with him. Like, I would think, like, who's going to help him if I leave?
So in that regard, you can almost understand your daughter and her defensiveness toward her dad even, right?
Right. Yeah. So, you know, and that's exactly what I want to do, is break the cycle.
Well, let me ask you this, because number one, I've been guilty of it, but also it pisses me off when I hear, you know, people go like, well, why do they stay in those relationships? And I'll be honest, I've been guilty of saying those same things. And then I'd have to look at myself and be like, wait a minute, dude, like, your mom was a very strong woman, like, you know, but so I guess my question is this. Number one, why did you stay so long? Right.
Well, it was a lot of manipulation, I would have to say, because before I met him, I was very independent. I was on my own. I was working. I was living. We had our own house, things like that. And I gave my power to him. He promised me that I wouldn't have to work, and I wouldn't have to struggle, and I wouldn't have to do all the things that I was doing already by myself. And me, like, doing this for forever, you know, I felt some sign of relief. Like, finally, somebody's here with me. Finally, somebody is here on my team with me. But I think once I gave that control to him, it was a wrap. It was done. You know, I never got that control back. And I was in the shelter for a year. I've been out for a year, and I still got to say, it's hard. You know, it's hard to have, you know, to try and gain that control back, you know, for someone who's not involved in my life and has so much control over my mind, not physical anymore, but my mental, you know. So it's something just to overcome. And that's why I want to let women know it is hard. It's so hard, but you can do it with the support. And just like you said, you felt like you were alone in the shelter, but when you walk into that house, you're like, there's 20 other people in this one house
Right.
that are going through what I'm going through, you know? And I didn't think at the time that I would be inspiring other people, because I was just broken just like them.
So let me say that for someone who may be, you know, listening, watching, whatever, that is in this situation, what was that thing that gave you the strength to finally say, you know what? Because I know a lot of women not a lot, all of them want to get out, want to leave, but for whatever reason, whatever their individual reasons are, in that moment they don't. What was, whether it was the last straw, or what was the thing that gave you the ability to, you know what, say, I'm going now?
I would have to say that my mind was just driving me crazy. You know, the physical abuse would get so bad to where, like, my arm was fractured. I've had, like, a gun pointed to me. And I just thought to myself, like, enough is enough. Like, my biggest fear is just having my daughters live the way I lived. And I would never repeat that cycle for them. I would never let them, like, think that was normal again.
And for the women that are listening to this message too, what was your first step? Was your first step calling the shelter?
The first step, actually, my mom suggested I went to a shelter because I had left my ex, and I called my mom thinking that she was going to say, like, oh yeah, hey, like, great job leaving him, come back home and we'll work this out. But she suggested I went to a shelter. At first I was upset because I was like, how are you not going to help me? You just want me to go to a shelter. But her intentions were that I was going to get more help there.
Right.
My mom being involved in a domestic violence situation, she wouldn't have, like, led me the right way, you know, like,
Right.
She's still going through her emotional things, and she's still, you know, dealing with her problems. She felt that going to a shelter would help me better, help my children better. So I did call, and it's actually hard. You got to call a couple places. You got to see if there's room for you and your family, you know? And when I finally found a place, they said, all right, come tomorrow.
Wow.
I had to drop everything. I told my cousin, I said, can you take me? You know, they actually take you to a cab, and the cab takes you to the destination because it's confidential.
Wow.
Nobody can know where you are. And of course I freaked out. I said, I can't do it. Please take me back. Like I will not see him anymore. I will not talk to him. But my mind wasn't right because my heart was still with him, you know? So, but I knew that I had to change for my daughters, you know, like my mom went through this. I went through this. Like, I will not have them go through it.
It was generational.
Of course, it's a generational curse that will be broken for
Amen
sure.
for that.
And I love too that you shared with me when you were in the shelter, you actually built some strong relationships.
Of course,
that are still with you today, not being in the shelter. And you mentioned to me that some of the women are a little bit younger than you, maybe a little bit older, but they really lean on you and your strength. And that actually is what helps them get through their day. So how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel it just makes me feel great. You know, I've met some of my best friends in the shelter. And I gotta say, when they met me, I was not the woman I am today. I was very broken. I would have panic attacks, you know, and they would stick by me and they would tell me like, please just be strong because I'm strong because you're strong. Like what you went through is nothing what I went through. So it makes me want to be strong. Please don't fall because I will fall.
Does that fuel you on a day-to-day basis?
It definitely fuels me, especially coming from my best friends, you know, and if they're in abusive relationships again, you know, I just show them support, you know, and I let them know, like, we've been through this situation before. Is that where you want to be? There's two roads. We already went down that one.
Well, I love
You
that
know?
you're providing them a safe place to not feel isolated, because I think that's the biggest thing that keeps women where they are, right? To your point of not being able to say anything. So if you can't say it, then you're isolated. But if you have that voice of reason that's not judgmental, but coming from a place of love and experience, then I'm sure that makes all the difference to anybody you come across.
Yeah, because I think that when I was in this situation, I think the thing that got me the most is when people would say, like, why did you stay? Like, what is the problem? Like you could just leave. Like, and it's not that simple, you know, like, I've tried to leave, and like I said, I've been handcuffed to a door. I've had a gun put to me. I've tried
I think
to
it's
leave.
important that you say, like, it's not that simple, you know, because people believe that, oh, you could just get up and go, but these sorts of men don't just let you get up and go.
Well, not only that, but what I find interesting, I mean, just sitting here listening, I'm speechless. I mean, seriously, I'm really speechless. So I mean, I can relate to your story a little bit too as well, James, as far as being in abuse. My mom was abused for years. I was physically abused, mentally abused. But the thing that I definitely commend you on, and the thing that is encouraging to hear, and when you hear these ladies telling you, don't stop. But what you don't realize you're doing, whether you believe it or not, is you're showing them step by step how it's done. Even in your situation of you want to quit, because it's so much easier to quit than it is to fight.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're continuously walking step by step and they're watching you. So it's like the same thing that you discussed as well as your daughters seeing things. Well, more things are caught than taught. So it's so much what you don't realize is that as you're doing it, you don't believe you're teaching them. And I don't mean your daughters, I mean the women that are looking up to you, is they're catching how you're reacting. And you have a situation where, and I believe, you know, we all do to some degree or not, whether we want to believe it or not, being it positive or negative, people are always watching.
Right.
No matter what you do, someone is always watching.
Right.
And the fact that you're fighting through and you can hear it, and to be truthfully honest, when people say, oh, you should just whatever, it's so much easier said than done. And unfortunately, because they're not walking in your moccasins, they have no idea what you're going through. And to be truthfully honest, based on how you're wired compared to how they're wired, their response may be totally different. And so, you know, for someone to always, and I hear different things that I'm dealing with, you know, people, oh, it's just, why don't you just do this? It's like, it's not that simple. And it's, and it is the word to say, it's like, it's really not that simple. I mean, things are easy doesn't mean they're simple.
Yeah, like
Well,
it sounds good.
Yeah.
And I think the thing too that I want to emphasize on is the first extremely brave thing that took a lot of strength was to make the initial phone call, right? But I think
Right.
the second thing, which I think is what led us all together, is the video you made.
Yeah.
So what, and just to let everybody know, Serena made a video just explaining her experience and immediately started seeing the impact it was making on people within your own circle,
Yeah.
even, right? So if you want to elaborate a little bit on that.
I was even getting messages from Hawaii, from different places, like people telling me like I
And
was
it went
such an
viral,
inspiration. Yeah, it definitely went viral. In a couple of days, it hit like 1K. I was like, wow, I don't even have that many friends, you know. But just to know that I'm inspiring people, it just gives me that fulfillment, you know, that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That, you know, people like, even when you're down, you know, like only way to go is up. You know, like do it for your kids. You know, like I know when you couldn't leave, it was for him, it was for love, it was for everything, but like do it for you now and do it for your kids. You know, do it for your mental. You know, that's been the hardest thing for me to just get situated is my mind, you know. And now that I'm working on it, all I want to do is inspire women to, you know that they're stronger and they are in control.
Well, let me encourage you. You're doing something amazing and really,
Incredible.
whether you realize it or not, your voice is resonating, and it's going to sound really big, but throughout the universe, because, you know, I'm a really spiritual person, whatever, but there's a scripture that says that you've done unto the least of mine, meaning the people who are ignored, people who are overlooked, people who are battered, people who are abused, that you do to them, you're really doing unto God, right? And so saying that you're doing God's work, you're really, so before we close this out, if you could say anything to a girl right now who's going through this situation, who's looking for hope, who's looking for something, what would you, you know, look straight at the camera, what would you say to them?
I would say look for me. Contact me.
What is your Facebook?
My Facebook is just Serena Garcia, Serena. My Instagram is Alexa Jade 1215 for my daughter. But I am here, and that's what I put my video out for. Like, I am here. I want to inspire you. I want to help you. I want to build you, because it's possible. It's possible. And I like I said, people contact me from all around the world just to tell me that my story has inspired them. And that's all I want to do. Domestic violence happens everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and sometimes you just want someone to know what you're going through.
Well, I definitely, I thank you for, because I know this isn't easy, but, you know, I appreciate it. I know Cherie, you know, her story really touched you.
Extremely.
You know, so thank you so much for, you know, and definitely, I think that was huge that you said, get it me, you know, because it's easy. No, because, you know, most of the time you like, find help somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Go to the shelter.
There is help.
No,
there is help other, you know, but when you have that support, when, you know, you have someone saying like, you can do it, you can like call me, talk to me, I will not judge you.
No, but this is coming out of the mouth of the woman that just said, I don't have it all together still. I still feel like I shouldn't be, you know, the place I need to be, but
Right.
she's still reaching out a hand. So
Of course, yeah.
And even I want to read out a number,
Yes.
and maybe we could put it on the screen later as well. But the National Domestic Violence Hotline, if you need help in the pinch or whatever, is 800-799-SAFE, and that is 800-799-7233. And so if you need help, no matter where you're at, you can call that number 24 hours a day, and they're there to help. But you know, definitely if you can't reach Serena,
you might be flooded.
you know what I mean?
There's the number.
Yeah, call this number, you know, but we definitely want to encourage you that, you know, you're not alone, and this doesn't have to last forever.
No.
You know, this will not, and for you especially as well, this is not the definition of who you are. That's why I didn't want to say survivor, because I don't want it to be, you know, that is, you know, your title. You know what I mean? You're a champion. You're an overcomer. It is something you went through.
Right.
Right? It's something you went through, but it's not it's not the definition of you. You feel me? You're so many other things. You're so much more than that. So this is a blip on the radar of what is your life, right?
Yeah.
And even from this, from your greatest weakness will come your greatest ability to touch people and to make an impact and let your name resonate even longer than you are around. You feel me? So
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys letting me do this and getting myself out there to help other women, because you feel alone, and you're not. You're definitely not alone.
Well, with that, we appreciate. I want to continue because it's still October. We getting close to that vote for love. Yo, it's on the website, therevolutionradioshow.com. Order the t-shirts, all the merch, whatever. We appreciate you as usual. Reach for your best, reach for success, but most of all, reach for God, because God is love and love is everything. It's your boy.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We want to hear from you. Instagram at The Revolution Podcast, at JLoveOfficial, and at Mars Mindset.